Hi guys, my name is Leora and welcome back to my channel. Today's episode I am actually trying something new. I've been thinking about it, and instead of doing a very formal standing in front of the bookshelf, either a snapshot review or a full review, I thought I would start a new segment on my channel called Chair Book Reviews. And it's basically me in a chair telling you about a book that I've read, reviewing the book, giving you my outlines or my thoughts on the book, maybe answering some questions. So a very casual, more informal book review than what I would normally do. I don't know if the segment is going to take off. I don't know if anything's going to come from it, but yes, this is the first episode and let's see where it goes. Today I am reviewing A Good Neighborhood by Therese and Fowler, and I hope you enjoy. So first of all, thank you so much to Jonathan Ball Publishers for gifting me a copy of this wonderful book for a honest review. Some statistical information before we start. This book was published on the 10th of March by Headline Review, and it is obviously distributed in South Africa by Jonathan Ball Publishers. I listened to the audiobook of this book and it is narrated by Elle Tureen, and she did an absolutely fantastic job. The first section of this video is going to be a spoiler-free discussion and review, and I will make sure that I put a slide in for the last section of the video where I give you the trigger warnings and perhaps some spoilers, so that you will, if you haven't read the book and you don't want any spoilers, I'll make sure to indicate when the spoilers are coming up. Like I said, the first section is going to be spoiler-free. The Good Neighbourhood is an adult contemporary fiction novel. The setting is in a neighborhood called Oak Knoll. Now, Oak Knoll is your typical American middle-class neighborhood. Xavier is a senior in high school living with his African-American mom. Xavier is biracial as his dad was white. It has always been only Xavier and his mom, because Xavier's dad passed away a very long time ago when Xavier was very, very little. In the story, they get new next door neighbors, which is the Whitman family. Now, the Whitman family consists of Brad and Julia and their two daughters, Juniper and Lily. Juniper is about Xavier's age and Lily is a little pipsqueak. I think she is lower middle grade. Can't remember exactly how old they said she was, but she's very cute. She's got a feisty little personality. In Valerie and Xavier's yard, there is this beautiful old oak tree. Valerie has quite a connection to this tree. All of her memories from Xavier growing up is connected to this tree. She's got an attachment to this tree, and she's very protective of this tree. Before the Whitmans moved in next door, they hired a contractor to flatten the existing house that was there, dig up and rebuild a beautiful new state-of-the-art home for their family. It's got all the proverbial bells and whistles. Now, Valerie explains in the story that a oak tree has got a very complex root system, and it might go as far as underneath the plots around her house. And with the contractors digging and turning over the ground for the new home next door, she suspects that they might have damaged her oak tree's root system, because she can see that the tree is under distress, that the tree might be dying, and she's obviously very upset by this fact. As the story progresses, she decides that she is going to bring up a lawsuit against the Whitmans, specifically against Brad and the contractor that Brad hired to build their new home. What Valerie does not know is that there is a blooming romance between Zay and Juniper. They are of the same age, and if I'm not mistaken, they also go to the same school. Now, Xavier is a senior and he is on his way off to a prestigious college with a scholarship. He is battling with deciding if he wants to actually get into a serious relationship now. He's never really had a serious relationship and he knows that he is moving soon, so he doesn't know if this is a good idea. Juniper, not having a lot of experience with dating and romance, also has her own struggles that she has to go through and her own decisions that she needs to make. There's also the fact that she's not really allowed to date, but there is this chemistry between them that adds a little bit of complication to Valerie's lawsuit against the Whitman, and vice versa. Valerie's lawsuit against the Whitmans also add a little bit of a complication into this new romance or relationship that Xavier and Juniper are trying to build. What Valerie is also battling with is that Xavier is her only son and he is on his way off to college, and she has always taught him, or she's always tried to teach him good values and to teach him that it doesn't matter that he is a biracial kid. He can become anything that he wants to do or be, and he can do anything that he wants. Xavier, on the other hand, does not necessarily agree with his mother's view of the world because he, as a biracial kid, he's got a very different experience of how people treat him and how people see him. So that's also a very important element to the story that also adds to a whole bunch of complications for everyone involved. This is not a book that I would just recommend to anyone and everyone that asks me. This is not a beach read. This is not a holiday read. This is not a quick and easy read. This book deals with very serious, hard-hitting real life issues. The characters are real, they're realistic, they're relatable. The characters could be your own next door neighbors. Valerie, like I said, is a single mom and all she's ever tried to do is make the best home for her son, raise her son in the best possible way, teach him good values, and send him to a very good college where he can have a bright future. You have the Whitmans next door that is quite a well-off white American family that, even though there are so many secrets, they are just trying to portray and live a normal life as possible. The reason why I'm specifically mentioning that Xavier is biracial, his mom is African American, his dad was white, and that the Whitmans is a typical white American family is that is very much what this book is about and what it talks about, and it deals with all the issues around those specific topics. So I often compare this book to Big Little Lies, and the narration is very similar. So when you start reading the book, you know that it is leading up to an event at the end of the book. The book is told from multiple points of view. The neighbors living in Oak Knoll is trying to tell you the story from their point of view. They are trying to make sense of everything that has happened. They are trying to help you understand the chain of events and why the book ended the way it did. They are telling the story from the point of view where they've known Valerie for so long and they've just met this new family that moved in next door. They have got their own idea and perception of each character. They tell you what they know at the time, and they also tell you what they only found out after the fact, and they're trying to build a story for you in such a way that you can follow along with what leads up to the event at the ending. Now this sounds all very complicated, but the writing is so well constructed. Fowler did an amazing job in putting the story together in a clear, understanding way. There you never feel lost, you are not confused about what's going on, you are not confused about which point of view is coming across. Like I said, the characters are real characters, they are relatable characters, and you actually do feel for each one of them. It is characters that could easily have been a family member or a best friend, and like I said, it could have been your neighbor. The book is not predictable in any sort of way. There are a couple of twists and turns because it is very much a character-driven book. I was here for the writing. The writing is absolutely spectacular, and I will not be surprised if A Good Neighborhood makes it to the Goodreads Choice Awards for 2020. Hello, are you joining me? There are also some questions that I'd like to answer in this review. Some of the questions has got an answer that is spoiler free, and some of the other questions do have an answer that contains spoilers, so I'll answer those questions towards the end of the video. So some spoiler free questions include: there is an element of young adult or teen romance in this book. Can this book then be classified as young adult romance as well? So for me, I would say definitely no. This is very much a adult contemporary fiction. There are a lot of serious topics being discussed here. Yes, there is the element of young adult romance between Xavier and Juniper, but I would not call this a young adult romance or young adult contemporary. However, if you are a mature young adult reader and you do enjoy more mature content, then this might be something that you would enjoy. So the next question is, did you know at the start of the book what the outcome would be? No, I didn't. I did know at the start of the book that the book ends with a funeral, but I didn't know whose funeral it would be. And I couldn't really guess. There was really no hint at what would happen at the end of the book. And the last spoiler-free question is, whose point of view did you want to see or hear more of? It's actually a really good question. So Julia was Brad's wife, and I would have loved to hear more of her point of view. Her daughter was the one that fell in love with the biracial boy next door, even though there was a strict no dating rule in place. Brad is a very well-off businessman, and dealing with all of this, I wanted a more in-depth view of what she was going through and how she perceived things. And I also wanted her more towards the end of the book. I wanted her to be more present towards the end of the book. The next section of this video contains the trigger warnings and some of the spoilers that I would like to mention to you. I'm going to be including, or I'm going to try and include at which point of the video you need to skip to if you want to avoid the spoilers. So some of the trigger warnings included in this book is violence, racism, sexual abuse from a friend or a family member, and suicide, and there's also a mention of rape. One of the things that I wanted to mention to you is that Brad is not Juniper's biological father. He is in fact her stepfather. And when Juniper was about 13 or 14, she made a purity vow at church. Now, at the time, Brad was very much the only father figure that she had ever known. She looked up to him. He was her hero. So he had to be part of this ceremony. There was a photo taken at this ceremony that is on display in the Whitman's house. And this photo and the story of this ceremony evokes a lot of uncomfortable feelings, both with the neighbors and with the reader. And that is something that will make more sense when you read the book. Racial discrimination is something that is very much at the forefront of this book. So if this is something that you are sensitive to, be aware of that and also adjust your expectations of that specific topic being present in this book. There are no graphic scenes of rape in this book, but it is mentioned in the context of telling you the history of one of the characters in the book. So one of the trigger warnings that is very important for me to convey to readers is the sexual abuse from a family member or a friend. Now, if you do not have first experience in this, I think when you read Juniper's story, you might think that she makes really, really weird decisions, that her thought pattern is very odd. But if you have first-hand experience of being sexually abused by a friend or a family member, reading Juniper's point of view actually is really, really relatable. And I'm going to go so far as to say that when you read her decisions, her actions, and her thoughts, I think it's going to bring tears to your eyes. And I think you're going to go and you're going to go sit there and go, wow, someone actually got this right. Someone actually put on paper what it feels like to go through this. And sorry about that, that's the doggos. And that to me was really, really a clear indication of how well this book is written. Then we also have a question that might include a spoiler of this book. And the question is, how did you feel about the ending? Sure, the ending was really, really heartbreaking for me. I did cry at the ending. I did not expect that ending. I really felt for Xavier, and I felt that the way that Fowler wrote what he was going through was just so emotional. He did not feel like there was any way out for him out of this situation. And my heart broke for him. I wanted to, it's one of those characters where you wanted to take them in your arms and you wanted to protect them from the world. And it is very much something that we cannot do for every single person. The fact that the book had to end the way it did, I wish there was a different ending to the book, not because it would have made the book better, just because I could see Xavier as a real person struggling with what he was struggling with, and saying that I hope that there was a better ending to the book. Actually, what I'm trying to say is I hope that for some people out there, there is a better ending to their story. Guys, that is my review for this book. I gave this book 4 out of 5 hashtag. I thought this book was brilliant. It was very well written. I felt joy, I felt angry. There was moments of shock for me in this book, and this book is going to stay with me for a little bit still. Fans of authors like Leanne Moriarty, Jojo Moyes, Frankie Laurel. Oh, I absolutely loved This Is How It Always Is by Frankie Laurel. Also authors like John Boyne. If you love those kind of authors and the books that they write, you would absolutely love A Good Neighborhood by Therese and Fowler. If and when you read this book, or if you have already read this book, I would love to hear your thoughts about this book. Send me a Instagram DM or comment in the comments below if you want to chat about this book. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you've enjoyed this review, click the like button, and if you want to see more of my upcoming reviews or of my upcoming videos, please click the subscribe button. I am hoping that the chair book review will become a permanent segment on my channel. I will talk to you soon, book lovers. Bye!